Now, how about them damn Celtics?
All right, we are here, Sam and I. Damian Lillard might actually come to the Celtics. Gary Washburn put it out there that Jayson Tatum has been recruiting him to Boston. There's been a ton of smoke. I know Noah has talked about it on the Garden Report. She's talked to a bunch of people here, and they've been all like, "Yeah, it's kind of real smoke. Like it's actually a possibility." And so the idea that Dame could potentially come to Boston to rehab with his buddy Tatum, and then the Celtics would have him past next season is not just people wishing and dreaming on Twitter. It's a real thing that might happen, and the key word is might. Obviously, we don't know anything, but where there's smoke, there's fire. So we'll see what happens.
It's kind of funny. Like the Celtics have had, I don't want to say like an offseason from hell because it's like they're doing it on purpose for like a real reason that is like the right move, but they have significantly cut back the roster. Like Porzingis, Holiday traded, Horford likely gone, Cornette gone, and you're looking at a team next year that has very medium to low expectations, and yet you're in the running for a top 75 all-time player when they did the list a couple years ago, who's a free agent now. And it's funny because he's more so interested in what's coming in 26, 27 rather than what's here in 25, 26. And it gives him a real opportunity to do that and to go after him and to bring him in and to have him rehab with Tatum and maybe be ready to play a smaller offensive role with the Celtics. Like, I think that is like the best thing for us to discuss now is like, if the Celtics get Damian Lillard, they're not getting like Portland Damian Lillard. They're going to get probably like a role player who is going to be an elite 3-point shooter and may show flashes of what he used to do.
Yeah, the biggest thing is obviously you're not getting Dame Lillard. You're not even, or sorry, Portland Dame. You're obviously not. You're not even getting Milwaukee Dame, right?
You don't want Milwaukee Dame. You don't want him.
You do though.
For free, you do.
For exactly, like there's so much context here. Milwaukee Dame still put up 25 and 7 on incredible efficiency. He was just not very good defensively, and then they had an awful supporting cast because they didn't do a good job of planning about how to build around those two guys because they gave up all their picks for one of them. Right. The reason the Celtics have been so successful these past 2 seasons is because of the great depth that they've managed to accrue and everything like that. Milwaukee Dame is still a 2-time All-Star. Like we talk about Milwaukee Dame like he was averaging 16 points on 40-35 splits like Sixers Paul George, right? Like he wasn't. He was an all-star. He was awesome. He was incredible. It's just it didn't work because they didn't have a good enough supporting cast behind him, and he's not a good enough defender to make it work as a 1-2 punch with no depth behind them, right? In Boston, theoretically, on a minimum contract or however big a contract you want to get him, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard. You have a decent defensive lineup there alone, and then past that, you'd be fine. So I get why it makes sense. You get one of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time, and then you go from there and you figure it out. And I think that's well worth it moving forward past the season.
Oh yeah, especially considering like the Celtics are in a weird place with their team. Like you're going to see probably a very retooled roster going to next year. Like we don't know if Anthony Simons will even make it to the upcoming season, never mind the one afterwards. Same story goes for Georges Niang. And then like the big man position is a big question too. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I think what like the big takeaway, at least for me, is if Damian Lillard is significantly interested in joining the Celtics, and if Jayson Tatum is hard selling him on joining the Celtics, which is what Gary Washburn is reporting, and that's what we're hearing, then it feels like they have some sort of plan in place to resurge in the 26-27 season. As obvious that may sound, it's not necessarily easy to do that on the fly after you've just been hamstrung by the second apron and you don't have a ton of like tradable contracts, at least like in the moment. Like the Simons one's tradable, but what can you really get back for it? The answer is not much. So the moves that are going to have to come down the line, Brad has to be scheming is more or less what I'm trying to say. So I'm kind of excited to see what's going to play out there.
Listen, I think their plan, like you kind of alluded to, was always going to be competitive in the 26-27 season. Like they were never going to be, all right, it's over. Sorry, we're going to be a lottery team for a few years now. If that was the case, they would have traded Derek White and Jaylen Brown, and they didn't. And Mike Sarin said it during his media availability, like we weren't close to doing that. Like that was never the plan. Like their plan all for the past 3 years was to be competitive as long as possible around Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jayson Tatum rupturing his Achilles put a little dent in that plan, and if anything, gave them an excuse and a chance to dodge the repeater tax for years so they can continue to pay. Like, that's the thing people are missing. Everyone's like, oh, ownership, they're cheaping out. Brad Stevens said verbatim at his press conference, we were always going to do some version of these trades regardless of the injury because we couldn't be under the second apron for a third year out of 5. The difference is now it's not ownership cheaping out. It's them taking a chance to reset the repeater tax so they can spend even more later. Like, that's the part people are missing about this. Like, aside from Dame, aside from all this stuff, and like I said, I think it'd be very cool to have Dame here. He's an incredible shooter, literally one of the best shooters of all time, a great playmaker, and would be a perfect, like, I don't know if he would be fine as a 6-man, but even if you wanted to start next to Derek White, you'd have the defensive infrastructure to, like, figure it out. You get dodging the repeater tax this year will allow the Celtics to spend even more comfortably moving forward around Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So I think that's the part that people are missing about all this. And then regarding Damian Lillard, whatever form you get, like, the worst case, everyone's afraid, like, oh, he's gonna be old, he's terrible on defense, it's gonna be awful by then. Maybe maybe he sucks. Maybe he sucks by the 26-27 season. At the very worst, you get a guy who can give you 15 to 20 minutes a night purely because he's an elite 3-point floor spacer. And then you get him off the floor in crunch time. But maybe you don't, because he's also one of the clutchest players in the history of basketball. Like, if he's on a minimum contract, there's no downside. Maybe you have to play the Steve Kerr or Quinn Snyder game like the Hawks and Warriors do, where you sub Curry off in the defensive possession or Trae Young off in the defensive possession, then you put him back on like Dame for the offensive possession so he can go hit the big shot. That's fine. The point is, it's a cheap enough contract where you can get him and then just make those decisions, because he's not taking up $50 million from your cap sheet like he was in Milwaukee. So I think it's very, very, very worth it when you have a player as talented as Damian Lillard. And shooting's not something that you really lose with age. Like, that's not really one of the skills that deteriorates as much. So I'm in. I'm very in for Dame for the next couple seasons on the contract that they would almost certainly get him at.
Yeah, I'm trying to envision like what he would look like. Would he be like Peyton Pritchard? Like, I think, would that be the cap you would put on him? And like,
pretty much.
I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing, right? Like,
no,
I think that's fine, especially considering if you do sign Damian Lillard, you're probably not paying him more than $10 million.
If you could duplicate Peyton Pritchard, I would. I'd say, yeah, sure, give me another Peyton Pritchard. I'm down.
I don't know if you will have the same defensive capabilities as Pritchard with Lillard, but you would have somebody who probably gives you just something in intangible, something in experience to make up for it.
My thing, and I've had to like come to terms with this a little bit. We've been so spoiled the last 2 seasons of them not having defensive weaknesses. Like, that is not the norm. Like, they're going to have defensive weaknesses in the next couple seasons. Like, that is just how the NBA works. Every single team in the NBA outside of the Celtics and this year the Thunder has defensive weaknesses. That's just kind of the name of the game. And it's just kind of the spoiled seasons are over. But I don't know if you have any other thoughts. That's kind of all I have on it.
I would be a little curious about the fit in terms of how does Damian Lillard adjust to being a role player? Because he was always the man in Portland. Like, he had to do just about everything. He had CJ as his running mate for a while. Then it was Anthony for a season or two, which those seasons did not go well. And he went to Milwaukee, was the second guy to Giannis, and it was always kind of an awkward fit. He still got his numbers, but the team didn't really perform at the highest level, at least not exactly what people thought they'd be able to do. What does he look like as the third or fourth guy next to Jason, Jaylen, and Derek? That's like the next thing we have to contemplate.
I think the good thing is if he does successfully get recruited here, he will already have the context and understanding of like, okay, I'm not going to be the guy anymore. So at least he'd know. But let us know what you guys think of Dame. I think under the pretenses that the Celtics sign him in this context, good for Tatum to have a buddy to rehab with. Good for the Celtics to have another elite shooter, and good that they won't pay him much at all. So let us know what you guys think. Appreciate it. I'll let Sam take it out.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how you feel about Dame. Leave that like because it does help the channel grow. We are doing our best here in the summer, grinding away. As we always do, new videos drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. The pods do at least. Game recaps are up the morning after each game, and other videos fill the days in between, so we got new stuff every morning. You can find the two of us on Spotify and Apple. All pods and recaps are up there, so if you follow us there, they will go right to your feed. Leave a 5-star review. We'd appreciate that very, very much. You can email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. What do you think of Dame? Send it in. hbtcpod@gmail.com. Our socials are at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook's the name of the podcast. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's Jack's One NBA. Mine's at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.
Tic-tac-toe.